right, and now we're live. Fishing Golf with First Blood. Good morning. And I see Megan joined us this morning. Megan, I'm digging your new job situation where you have time to watch in the morning. Thanks for joining us. We love you. We're going to talk a little bit about Tenacious D. And, up front, y'all have to disclose, I've always been a big fan of Tenacious D. I think they're hilarious. But let's get into this. Good morning. Good morning. So this morning we're going to be talking a little bit about Tenacious D, and really what we're talking about is the difference between the us and them. Because Tenacious D stepped in it, and they made an apology, and now good people are saying, okay, hey, they apologized. We should accept their apology. No. I'm not a forgiveness guy. Okay? I'm not. If there is a problem, there is a problem that I've always had with Christianity generally, and that's the idea of absolution. Okay? Which is to say that someone, even God, might forgive my debt without me taking appropriate steps. Because that means that someone, like, I don't know, an illegitimate president, might cause me to incur cost in order to forgive a debt owed by another person, entirely to my harm and detriment, and at no profit to me, without my consent or interest. Right? For example. Now, I'm all for doing the right thing, making amends, and making someone whole. But I'm going to make the argument here that Jack Black apologizing for the comments of Kyle Glass, which I'll get into in just a minute, does not make us whole by apologizing for the misstep and canceling the tour. He does not repair the damage done. And that's my key concern with it, right? If a murderer confesses his sin and is forgiven it, he has not unmurdered the victim. Now, there is room there. Because there is a difference between someone who has chosen with evil, corrupt motive to cause harm without just purpose. Right? You know, a meth addict goes in and robs a liquor store and kills Uncle Irving so that he can get $30 out of the cash register and go score himself a teenth. No. That person cannot be rehabilitated. And even if they could, you shouldn't want them to. So what happened? Well, As you all know, Donald Trump was the victim of an assassination attempt on Saturday. And then, what was this, the same night? Or was this the next night? Jack Black's band cancels tour after backlash to bandmates' comment on Trump assassination attempt. So apparently, I guess it was Kyle's birthday. So Tenacious D is Jack Black and Kyle Gass. If you're not familiar with the band, I'm a huge fan of Tenacious D, and have been ever since they came out, basically. Their first big song that got everybody's attention was a song called Tribute, and it's funny. And it's a song about these two brothers that are basically hitchhiking in the middle of the desert when a demon jumps out in front of them and says, "Play the best song in the world or I'll eat your souls." And then they go on to play the song, and the refrain goes, "This is not the greatest song in the world. No, this is a tribute." It's hilarious. It's brilliant. And the really funny thing about the song is that every technical way, it's actually a really fucking good song, right? Now, a lot of their music is stuff that, I can't listen to with my kids, right? My Polish Sausage and Fuck Her Gently. These songs are not, they're not a family-friendly band, but they are funny. They are damn funny. Sorry, Mom, I know Dad's watching, and that means you're probably not too far away, but good funny band. But this. So, Jack Black's comedy rock band Tenacious D has canceled its remaining tour dates after band member Kyle Gass sparked a backlash with an apparent joke about Saturday's assassination attempt. An apparent joke. That's what it was. Just like Kathy Griffin's joke, right? Footage posted on social media from the band's concert in Sydney on Sunday showed Black presenting Gass with a birthday cake on stage and telling him to make a wish. And Gass responded, "Don't miss Trump next time." Don't miss Trump next time. That's his wish, right? That's the wish that he made. Let's be clear. That's pretty specific. He didn't just say, "I wish the assassin hadn't missed." He's saying, "I hope and wish that there will be another attempt and that attempt will be successful." St. Michael points out, and I believe correctly, because Jack Black, as much as I enjoy his performance, as much as I loved the character of Bowser and the way he voiced, as much as I loved several of his movies and his music, the fact is, Kyle would not have said it if Jack wasn't on board. Or at least, okay, these guys have been in this band together long enough that they probably never had a conversation. It's not like I'm suggesting that Kyle Gass asked Jack Black if it would be okay if he made this particular joke. It's that they know each other well enough that Kyle knew that Jack would be on board for the joke. So, I tell you what actually got me on this. This morning I saw that Tim Pool posted on Twitter, "Kyle Gass apologized for his crass comment. I accept his apology and you should too. Tenacious D should resume their tour." And I replied, because this is, I think, correct here. Because like I said earlier, you cannot make the victim whole. You cannot unring that bell. You cannot unmurder that baby, right? So I said, no. As much as I like Tenacious D, the fact is that we tolerate the bad behavior of the unhinged leftists, and that is a major factor in Trump's assassination. The consistent double standard. Kyle Gass is right up there with Madonna, Johnny Depp, Robert De Niro, Maxine Waters, Kamala Harris, yes, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden. They call for the death of Trump, or his supporters are actually threatened to do it themselves. Craig Robertson, for example, right? This was the guy that, okay, he was a civilian who couldn't even walk on his own, right? The guy had a walker and a scooter that he required for basic mobility, posted a quote-unquote threat against Biden on Facebook and was murdered in his home by FBI agents the next morning. How's Kyle doing? Did the FBI show up and put 30 fucking rounds through his house this morning? Nope. Doesn't look like it. They get away with it. And they know they get away with it. They know there will be no consequences. Y'all, I'm 45 all the way, right? I'm gonna be there pulling the lever for the Donald. Make no mistake. I'm on board. But I do have a concern. Here's my biggest concern. The last time we elected him, okay, let me correct that. That's not correct. Damn, I got it twisted. It's stuck in my hair and it's pulling on me. Okay. The first time we elected him, that's better. The first time we elected him, part of what we were hoping for, part of what we were hoping to see was lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. And he didn't. That concerns me. Now, I take some solace. I find a white pill in the expectation that precisely because he didn't lock her up and his administration went the way it did, you know, roadblock after roadblock after Stonewall after bullshit, we saw just the absolute psychopathy of the left. Of let's be clear, the enemy. And this isn't political hyperbole. It is unintelligent and politically hyperbolic for the left to say that everyone on the right is the enemy. It's not a reasoned and intelligent claim. However, when you're on the right in the 2020 era, in the 2020s, when you look at the left, what you're looking at is the mostly peaceful protests, riots, burning down federal buildings, murdering police officers, murdering Trump supporters just for wearing the hat, right? The guy that was assassinated in the street, just headshot by some asshole with a pistol who later committed self-deletion by police officer. You're looking at the May 29th, what we should be referring to as the May 29th insurrection in 2020, when a bunch of psychotic leftists went to the White House, set fire to St. John's Episcopal Church, tore down the barricades, threw Molotov cocktails at the White House, forcing the Secret Service to take Donald Trump into the bunker. After which they ridiculed him. Oh, the bunker, baby. He went and hid in the bunker. Yeah. Because unhinged, psychotic insurrectionists, and again, that is the correct use of the word, attempted to set the White House on fire with incendiary devices. Right? And now we've got them actually taking shots at the president. Right? So, meanwhile, even the most innocuous and uncontroversial statement by a conservative is treated like a coded order to a secret sleeper cell of KGB/Nazi extermination squads. We have deranged psychotics running around burning buildings and burning people because, well, we can't continue to enable them by doing business with and explaining away the bad behavior of people like this. This kind of tolerance is raping our children, mutilating them, sterilizing them, and now assassinating our elected officials. No more tolerance. That's what I said to. Now, I'm going to give a Dad said stop listening to Tim Pool. I'm actually going to push back on that a little bit because I've seen enough Tim Pool that I know what's really going on here. Is that's not actually his position. This is Tim Pool. Usually you can't take Tim Pool seriously on Twitter because what he does is he trolls people to get a conversation started, and then he uses, and I'm probably going to take a page from this book. he uses the replies to that conversation to generate the search engine optimization key tags that are going to get him 500,000 viewers on a live podcast that evening, because this is the conversation that he had last night live from the RNC with I forget who he had on last night. I haven't seen it yet. I saw that the show happened, but I haven't seen it yet. So before I move on to the rest of this, I want y'all to bear with me just a second. There seemed to be a technical difficulty with Rumble, so I'm going to look and see if I did get it connected or not, and it looks like that's a no. So let me just pop over there real quick and let these guys know that Rumble broke. And I think I'm just gonna direct these guys over to one of the other channels. Just a second. Okay. There we go. There are a couple of people sitting over there on Rumble waiting for us, and I hope they find their way over to X or even, God forbid, YouTube. But yeah. So there we go. Okay. Waller says, back in 2019, I was buying a piece of art, and when we were waiting around while the payment was being finalized, the artist started talking to me about how bad Trump is. Yeah. I have a piece of art that I want to hang on the wall in the studio, but it's going to have to wait a while. I bought it before anybody knew Trump was going to run for office, but I had a conversation with the artist at the time. This was in Hawaii, and this guy, I think he might have been smoking a joint while we were talking, and buddy, he hated him some Obama, and that made him almost a $1,500 sale that day. It was a beautiful piece of work, and it's very, very Hawaiian. I want it on the wall, but not in this studio because it's not adequately temperature controlled. I don't want it to get hurt. I don't want my painting to get hurt. So, as we're talking about the question of whether or not to forgive them, many of you have probably already seen this, but I think it's important to revisit it. Let me know if you're getting the audio here.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies.
For as long as there is unrest in our lives. You know what I would say unrest in our lives looks like? The continued existence of property and or income taxes.
Of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
It's in the First Amendment, fuckburger.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should.
See, now how in the era of cancel culture can a grown-ass man with a multi-million-dollar annual contract job, who is clearly not a white man, say something so disparaging of white men? I guarantee you take a white man who makes the same statement about black men, right? All black men are terrorists. Or the greatest terror threat facing this nation is black men. It's a ludicrous statement. It's an unintelligible statement, right? And I guarantee you, these same people that we're talking about, if I were to make the statement that the greatest terror threat today is Palestine, then it would be treated as if the statement I made was that the greatest terror threat today is all brown-skinned men who appear like they could have come from Palestine, because it can only be the ethnic composition of a person that a white man is criticizing, and it couldn't possibly be the political or geostrategic composition of the actual source of an enemy threat. No, it has to be. It has to be. Cindy says Don is married to a white man. No, he's not. They're both men. But that's a different show. And that's the point, right? Waller says Democrats got away with saying that about black men in the 90s. Yes, Democrats did. That is correct. The enemy, who is more than happy to burn a cross in your yard, hang you from a tree, shoot your president, set your churches on fire, is so entrenched and empowered that they can say anything they want. They can get away with anything they want, and that's why there must be no forgiveness. There must be no meeting in the middle, right? Because we're talking about people who believe in, who say compromise. They say it incessantly. Bipartisan deal. We're going to compromise on this vote. We're gonna. No, they're not. What compromise looks like to the enemy is that we concede everything and we continue to make concessions in exchange for nothing until we arrive at their original objective. It happens every time. Sergeant Major says I described Democrats the same as KKK. That is correct. Hey, Michelle joined us this morning too. Good morning, sunshine. So I'm going to let the last minute of this montage play
Should have
out.
punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted.
Radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said,
See, and they lie so casually. He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers, right? I forgot that even popped up in here. And that's one of those, we talked about the debate and how Biden did such an awful job. One of the things that we heard after the debate, and this is part of the same conversation, this is salient. One of the things that we heard after the debate was basically, in order to excuse Biden's poor performance, we started hearing all the lefty shills saying, well, isn't it just awful that we're such shallow people that Donald Trump can go up there and just lie and lie and lie, but he speaks nicely and he sounds good, so some stupid people will still vote for him, even though he got up there and lied and lied and lied. While Joe Biden got up there and he just told the truth. He told so much truth, but he sounded weak when he was doing it. Bullshit. Biden got up there and he repeated the claims that Donald Trump said there were fine people on both sides in Charlottesville, suggesting that he was offering support to specific radicals, even though in the same speech, Donald Trump explicitly identified that exact group and said that group should be condemned completely and totally. My point has nothing to do with whether or not you agree with that position or that statement. The fact of the matter is that what Joe Biden said in that context is not just incorrect. It is the lie on which he launched his campaign originally in 2020. Biden. It is a lie which has been so thoroughly debunked that even hard left Catwoman Snopes has had to issue an article saying, no, this is false, this never happened. Biden got up there and said that Donald Trump told everybody to inject themselves with bleach to cure their COVID. That is a lie. That is an absolute falsehood. Now, what he did do is inartfully make reference to an experimental UV light medical procedure that he clearly had heard about and didn't know much about and wanted his advisors to learn more about and advise him on. But that is a far cry from go pour some bleach into your turkey baster and shove it up your ass, right? And then you got this one right here.
Most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers.
Okay, for one, the Mexicans are rapists and murderers thing, that's from a different speech. That wasn't when he came down the escalator. And what he said was they're not sending their best. Okay. So when they tell you that lie, that Donald Trump said that all Mexicans are rapists and murderers, this is a very important lie to dissect, because the claim that they're making is, because what he did say is among the criminal aliens, there are rapists and murderers. That is not an opinion. That is an absolute fact. That is not every Mexican is a rapist and a murderer. That is among the hostile foreign invaders, who are already criminals, by the way, even if they've never committed a crime before in their life. By crossing the border illegally, they are committing a crime. They are now criminals. Among these criminals, who are not themselves all, they do not represent all Mexicans, as in not all Mexicans cross the border and become these criminals, but these criminals are not even themselves all Mexicans. Many of them are Chinese, Middle Eastern, South American, etc. Right? They come from everywhere. They just happen to go to the southern border to come through because Canada has pretty tight border security, and Mexico actively subsidizes people coming into Mexico and crossing into America. Make no mistake, the invasion that's happening at the southern border is in part the result of the Mexican government in participation with the drug cartels intentionally conducting an anti-American military action for the purpose of getting people into America so that many of them can be trafficked into slavery, trafficked into sex slavery, or assist as mules in the drug trade, right? That is being funded by Mexico. And that is also being supported by activities through Middle Eastern terrorist organizations who are cutting deals, like saying, "Oh yeah, hey, Mexican government, you're trying to keep your bribes coming from your drug cartels in Mexico and Colombia, and we just sold a shitload of poppy to this Colombian drug cartel, but they've got." They paid us cash for half, but like they wanted us to do something with these 43 kilos of cocaine. Can you stick this up a couple of immigrants and send them across the border to demand asylum? Oh yeah, absolutely. That yeah, no problem. And here, we'll write this phone number on their arm so that after the Biden administration gives them a free smartphone, they can call in and report the success of their mission. And that way you can track how much of your product made it across and keep an eye on which one of your drug dealers in the States. Guys, I'm not speaking in hypotheticals here. Right? I got flip pay. I'm not just pulling some hypothetical out of my ass here. And Waller, double check me. I'm pretty sure I managed to get all that out without crossing any particular lines. But it's twisted as hell. But for the lefties to argue that Trump was wrong to say that there are rapists and murderers among those criminals is to make the argument that there are not. as in there are no, as in it is impossible for a person who happens to be from Mexico to be guilty of rape or murder under any circumstance whatsoever. That's the argument that they necessarily imply by simply arguing that Donald Trump incorrectly said that Mexicans can be rapists and murderers. It's psychotic.
He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and
no consequences for that.
put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
That's it right there. Pull it up.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Take a look at what happened.
That's who we're talking about. Those are the people that we're talking about. Stryker says, but wallets can always empty. Yeah, that's right. There are no consequences. Now let's not forget, like I mentioned in the tweet that I showed earlier, you got all these very public, very, very vocal public personalities, including many elected officials. And that is by far, that is far from a complete timeline, complete collection of these unhinged sociopaths and their calls for violence and their threats and etc. But it is a very clear representative form, and like I just said, no consequences. Kathy Griffin's career pretty much went in the toilet after that, but I don't think she was doing great before that. But let's not forget about the cat. What was his name? Craig Robertson. Yeah, Craig Robertson. You know, he made what is probably an ill-advised post on Facebook. So, you know, 13 boomers saw it about how he wanted to kill Joe Biden. And the FBI raided his house at 4 o'clock in the morning and murdered him. Okay, you think, oh, well, you know, this guy's an unhinged right-wing conservative with a bunch of guns. Okay, maybe. But what probably happened is he was sitting in his mobility scooter waiting for the blue lights and just started shooting through the door, and no. Go read the articles. There are many of the articles from the outlets that gave you such headlines as Trump evacuated from rally over loud noises, or Donald Trump escorted off stage after apparent fall. CNN. Donald Trump injured by glass from shattered teleprompter, there were a lot of the mainstream media outlets started running headlines immediately that basically said there was no assassination attempt. And I guarantee you that in 5 years, you will hear somebody say, oh, no, that was staged. That never happened. It was firecrackers, or it was totally staged. It was a false flag. There are a lot of Democrat voters right now that are saying Trump planned the assassination. And that begs the question, how long before they get sued for $1 billion over talking about crisis actors? But Maxine Waters wasn't murdered in the middle of the night by the FBI after she said, I'm going to go and take Trump out tonight. Like, that's a lot of those were, well, I'd like to punch him in the face. I'd like to punch him in the face. I'd like to punch him in the face. Ho, 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 ho. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And that's a great line. It really is. And let me tell you something from personal experiences. Everybody's plans fall apart when they punch you in the face and you laugh at them. That one's always fun. It's kind of like, back when I was boxing and kickboxing, I used to very often, I would let somebody get that first punch in and then give them a big old smile, my bright pink mouth guard, and you could see it in their eyes just dropped. Everything just fell out of them. And I already knew before I started swinging that fight was already over. Waller and Mario, if he's watching, they've seen something similar happen in our mixed martial arts tourneys back at the Presidio. Getting a brawl, and we're talking controlled sportsman circumstances here. Getting the ring and have somebody shoot in and try to get the guard or try to get a grapple position where they could try to get one of those control positions. I just lay down on them, just fall over and lay down on them. Right, we were doing a tournament one time, and the little guy pulled me over on top of him to get the guard so we could try to go for the arm bar or the collar choke, and I just let my arms go out, flop down, and it took him a minute to get his wind back in him, and I just laid there on top of him, and he said, "You're just fucking with me, right?" Yeah, I am. I really am. That's what you saw when Donald Trump stood up and put his fist in the air, right? That's why Joe Biden's not going to drop out of this election. He's going to be there. He's going to be the name on the ticket unless he dies between now and then, which, let's be fair, is a real possibility. I mean, he's not looking great. Striker. And Stryker says that's why there's weight classes, not when you're doing mixed martial arts in Army modern Army combatives training, Stryker, and you know that. there are no weight classes in well, I don't know. It's been a decade since I was in, so they might have added weight classes because we don't fucking live in reality anymore. And yes, I liked the Tom McDonald "You Missed" track. Y'all need to go check that out. It got me right here. I might have had a little tear in my eye when he said, "Bitch, you missed." So, all right, I'm starting to wander off onto unrelated topics now, so it's probably time to call it a morning. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. I hope your takeaway is there's no forgiveness. You guys have, the enemy has incurred a debt, and I expect it to be paid in full. The debt that right, we don't get that harm. We don't recover that harm with an eye for an eye. An eye for an eye is a functional is a good system for the enforcement of law. I'm not talking about enforcing law and justice here. What I'm talking about is taking the red off the ledger. What are we owed by the enemy? What is the debt that this enemy owes to the United States? That debt is simple. It's cheap gas, world peace, safe streets, constitutional republic, and liberty. The enemy owes me cheap gas, world peace, safe streets, and constitutional republic and liberty. Because Joe Biden was inaugurated and immediately took away the cheap gas, the world peace, the safe streets, and the Constitution, Republic, and liberty. That is what an oligarch, a totalitarian dictator does. They starve you until you offer them your vote for food. Right? The deal with the this is something Tim Pool talks about a lot. The deal with the devil. The deal that you make with the devil is never, hey, I really want to be the best musician ever. I want to be the best guitarist that anybody's ever heard. I'll trade you my soul for ultimate guitar skills. No. No. We'll call you. You don't call us, says the devil. No. The devil comes knocking on your door when you've got a wife and kids and a mortgage and a bunch of debt and you don't know how you're going to make the ends meet. And he says, hey, I got a sign-on bonus if you'll put on this Border Patrol uniform and help the Biden administration facilitate human trafficking operations through Mexico across the southern border. I know it sounds super evil, but your kids are hungry, man. Your fucking kids are hungry. Why don't you be a man and do this job? Who cares if the job's evil? Your kids are hungry. That's the deal with the devil. That's the deal that people get. That's the deal that gets made. If you sell your soul, you sell it cheap. Now, you might look at people like all the celebrities in that clip who were making the threats. Guys, let me clarify something. There's evil, and then there's original evil. There's true evil. Those people, your Maxine Waters, your Hillary Clintons, your Joe Bidens, they didn't sell their souls to the devil. They are the devils that buy your soul. In a lot of ways, you can think of your soul as marginally identical with your vote. So, y'all be safe out there. That's where I'm going to leave it today. I know it's kind of a dark note, but let me lift you up just a little bit. I love you. I appreciate you. And I will see you tomorrow.